One thing I think we know for certain now after this first swath of races with 14 left to go, 4 in the regular season, 10 in the playoffs, the big three teams, Jeff Hammond, dominate the landscape. When I talk about that, I talk about Hendrick Motorsports, we talk about Gibbs and Penske. You have to look really, really hard to find wins or anybody camped out inside the top 12 that doesn't belong to the big three.
No, you're absolutely right. And you know, that's kind of like what we've always expected, but we were always hoping with this new car we'd see a little bit more parity and see a little bit more success, you know, from some of the other teams. But, I mean, the biggest one right now, 23-11 with Tyler Reddick, I mean, they have been pretty much on par. They've done a really good job getting wins and yet at the same time being consistent. That's the main thing. Is you got to be consistent, and they have shown that for sure.
Tyler Reddick's on fire. You look at the stats and his finishes. One finish outside the top 8 since May, Doug, and that was a 22nd in Iowa. And we're talking a bunch of second-place finishes, a bunch of heartbreaking second-place finishes where, you add a few things go the right way. He doesn't hit that wall at Chicago. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. You're stacking up the wins, and you're putting him in Kyle Larson territory to the point where Tyler Reddick is now competing with these big three teams, with the Hendricks of the world for the regular season title. Something I really don't think we expect. We expected Tyler Reddick to have good finishes. We expect him to win a few races, but winning that regular season title tells you a lot about how much speed you have, how good your team is really, right, to be that consistent. And Tyler Reddick is right there. So maybe when we talked about drivers and teams punching above their weight, I know we expect a lot out of Tyler Reddick, but I think he's exceeding expectations.
He has 8 playoff points. He has a win this year, and Tyler Reddick does. And I'm looking at these teams outside the big three, Alan, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm counting only 3 wins in 22 races. Daniel Suarez won at Atlanta. Okay. Ryan Eyelash, Brad Keselowski at Darlington, and Tyler Reddick. And that's it. The other 19 wins all belong to 3 organizations. Here's a better question. Is this a good thing for NASCAR, or is this something NASCAR should be, all the power is weighted to this side of the table?
Yeah, I mean, that's about a quarter of the field, right? 11 drivers, 4, 4, and 3, right? Yeah, so that's a third of the drivers.
I would say if I was NASCAR, that I would not be 100% happy with the fact that they were so dominant, because as the manufacturers go, that's kind of like, you've picked out all 3 of the big manufacturers who they've kind of like hung their hats with, are benefiting. Now, if that's okay with them, we got what we're looking for as far as the number of wins under each one of their banners. I know maybe Chevrolet's a little bit stronger than the rest of them, but it's what are you really looking for here? Are you looking for what?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
or has it always been that way?
It has.
Wasn't it Junior Johnson versus, I don't know, the Wood brothers and the Pettys at one time?
The cream is always going to rise. And what we have, 12 different winners already?
Yeah. I mean, nobody go. If you really want to get some open experience, which you should understand this, Doug, go look at Richard Petty's record at the time, their heyday, and Holman Moody at their time. The Wood brothers at their time. I mean, the Wood brothers were so good, they'd run 12, 15 races and they'd win 9 of them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the dominance has always been there for certain people in certain organizations. At one time, it was RCR with Earnhardt. They were always a threat and won a lot of races. So it's nothing new. It's just we're looking at it maybe from a different angle, thinking about back then we didn't have big teams. We only had organizations that were big with big drivers. One driver doing all this, 2 drivers at the most. But these organizations like Hendrick, they got 4 drivers. So if all of a sudden you look and one guy's got 4 wins and the other guy's got 3 and the rest of them have got 1 and 1, it's heavy to the Hendrick side as well as Chevrolet.
And I'm guessing our 12 winners right now, that's about average, right? We had that one year with 15, 16. Yeah. That seemed like an outlier, right? So doesn't seem like an off year. We still have 4 races to go in the regular season, so it could even add to that total, which might make the parity or spread it a little more even, if you will. But, jumping up into that top tier, there's a top tier for a reason.
And I want to challenge you on one thing you just said and see if I'm wrong the way I'm thinking. We got 4 more races. Yeah, regular season. You said that. But really, we got 14 races in this year.
And we've seen different winners come out of that.
And everybody always says, once we get in the playoffs, you'll never see another guy win. I think we may be in a different world this time because there's too many good teams that haven't won. If they don't win something in the regular season, I think that they may wind up being a threat in the remaining races.
What team outside of Hendrick and Penske, the big three that we're talking about here, can get into that elite category? Who can move up with Hendrick, Penske, and Gibbs? Is there a team?
Well, 23-11, Tyler Reddick, as we were talking about how good he is. I think they are ahead of his plan. You want more out of Bubba, right? I mean, Bubba lately, the last 2 weeks, they dug themselves a hole. They have dug out of it, and they have good momentum. Probably the only team that didn't want 2 weeks off was that 23 car. I still wonder, Roush, RFK is still a mystery to me. They have the win. Right. They have the ability, what they did last year. They've got a lot of resources on their side. What can they do? Will they show up? Would it surprise me? No, but they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I think they've got a shot. I think 23-11 may be the group that could, you look back in history, and I find it funny, and you guys may have forgotten this. Michael Waltrip Racing was almost there up until the deal at Richmond where they got caught and smacked around and everything fell apart. They were that close to being one of the elite organizations. So it's funny how one little thing can unhinge it all.
Oh yeah, but a lot of times those are the things that make you fall apart from within. The organization is not strong enough to survive something like that. But I think you're overlooking Trackhouse with Chastain for one. He's a guy that can Martinsville. You've seen what he did there. He made a last lap run right there to get himself into the playoffs that 1 year. Even when you go down through here, front row, Michael McDowell, along with his teammate Todd Gilliland, have had good runs. And the reason I bring this up, we still have a Roval where Michael will be a threat there. And we still have Talladega where when you could put those two guys together and some of these other Fords, like Stuart Haas's Fords, Josh Berry, they'd work together, 3 or 4 of them get to working together. Anything could happen at Talladega.
But if NASCAR's a Thanksgiving meal, front row is the peas. They're not the turkey or the dressing.
I understand what you're saying, but you asked the question, is there some place or some way? Those are the places and those are the ways where you can upset the apple cart.
The P's got the momentum, though. They're going in the right direction. They're moving up the board.
Rolls or biscuits?
Flaky biscuits.
Flaky biscuits.
Yeah. Little popping fresh.
Hawaiian rolls.
Oh, all right. I like that.
Yeah.
I believe
that's a player.
That's
they sponsor Keselowski.
King's
Hawaiian. Yeah, that's a winner.
Yep.
You want to sponsor this show right here? We're your guys. All right.